Overreaction Friday with Graziano. I'll say something, and you tell me if that something is an overreaction. So first, if I said Kirk Cousins would make Atlanta the biggest threat to San Francisco in the NFC, is that an overreaction?
Oh, yes, of course that's an overreaction. I think Atlanta has a chance to be a good team if they make that signing. Obviously, a lot of good pieces. But look, I mean, they just replaced their coach. Like, obviously, they're not starting from a wonderful starting point here. No, the biggest threats to the Niners in the NFC are the Lions, and I think the Rams in their division, and the up-and-coming Packers. I think Atlanta has a ways to go to get into that group.
I hear you. I think you're selling a little short what they have there with the right mix. I like Atlanta a lot. Plus, I think the division is so winnable. They could win a lot of games. I think the Falcons could be a very interesting team to watch. We'll see. That said, it's probably an overreaction. Is this, if I said Justin Fields is going to wind up being a backup next year, is that an overreaction?
I still think it's an overreaction. I still think he ends up. Look, whatever he is or isn't, he was one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the league this past year. Like, he should be starting for someone. I think it's just a matter of finding the fit. It is going to have to be a place that knows that he needs still some more coaching, more development. We've talked about this, just 25 years old as of this week. But I think he's talented enough and he's shown enough in the league that someone will bring him in and he'll end up starting games next year.
I hope so. Starting to get more and more worried about this. Today's the one-year anniversary of the day Chicago made the trade that kept him there for one more season. All right, finally, if I said Mike Tomlin can resurrect Russell Wilson's career, is that an overreaction?
I think it's an overreaction. Look, I think we asked the same thing about Sean Payton a year ago, and Sean Payton's history with quarterback, you would think that he would have been the answer, and he didn't, right? I mean, they managed to put something together that was safe and harmless and not very exciting as an offense, and then he still was sick of Russell Wilson, and he benched him at the end of the year. So, no, I think Russell Wilson can probably resurrect Russell Wilson's career to some extent, but I don't think it's going to be situation-specific. I think he's going to have to be able to do things we haven't seen him do the last
Well, we specifically ask about Pittsburgh. D. Wood, come on in here, big fella, and Harry Douglas, I'll start with you. We asked specifically about the Steelers because there are reports out of Pittsburgh that say that the Steelers are interested in Wilson and that his interest is mutual, but it's still very preliminary in all of that. But let me just bounce that off you, Harry. In a world in which the Steelers' quarterback situation next year is Kenny Pickett and Russell Wilson, is that a team that can contend for a Super Bowl in the AFC?
Contend for a Super Bowl? No, it's not. Not with those two guys at the quarterback position. But I will say this. I think having Russell Wilson at the quarterback position over Kenny Pickett is a minor upgrade, because when you look at just 2023 in that entire season, Russell Wilson played better than Kenny Pickett. There were multiple occasions where I watched film and I just didn't understand what Kenny Pickett was trying to go with the football based on the coverage that was being displayed. When you look at Russell Wilson, I think he's a guy that can still play the game of football. Now, I'm not going to say he's the Russell Wilson that we've seen early on or the middle of his career when he was in Seattle. But whenever you're able to throw for 3,000 yards and you can complete 66% of your passes and have 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, and you miss 2 games because your coach wanted to bench you because you didn't want to alter your injury clause in your contract, then I would take that quarterback if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What do you think, D. Wood? I mean, the Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, Steelers, a team that you're competing with Burrow, you're competing with Lamar, you're competing in a conference that has Mahomes and Allen and all those guys. Is that enough?
Doesn't move the needle at all. It really doesn't. I mean, let's just be honest. Look at all the quarterbacks. Not only just within their own division, you got a 2-time league MVP. You got a guy in Joe Burrow who's been to a Super Bowl, who's one of our best quarterbacks that we have in our league. Are you going to sit here and tell me that Kenny Pickett and Russell Wilson would really compete with those guys? Like, come on, like we got to stop kidding ourselves here. And listen, as far as Kenny Pickett is concerned, I think that situation. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers look at that situation more that Matt Canada was the problem, more so than Kenny Pickett. That's why they brought in Arthur Smith, made the change to offensive coordinator, because they're going to give Kenny Pickett every opportunity to basically prove them wrong, that it was a failed pick. That's just the way the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to look at this whole thing.
Harry Douglas was making the case for the Steelers to sign Russell Wilson, and he used the words minor upgrade. Right. Like, I mean, can you imagine being working for the Steelers marketing department? Like, oh, what do you think about the slogan for this year? Minor upgrade. Like, no, like that's the whole. Russell Wilson might be fine. Like, he might be somebody's star. They might be good. But he had the last 2 years, like, he's got to overcome that. Like,
Yes.
he has not played well. And it's at a point in his career where it's reasonable to ask the question, hey, is it going to come back? And he's got to show that it does.
The 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers, we are infinitesimally better. and in a place where you can't be. Now, look,
Right.
so is there an answer? Is there a much better alternative? Because I keep saying Justin Fields, and they keep not doing it, so maybe the world disagrees with me. Maybe he isn't much better. Is there someone much better? Should they be going after Kirk Cousins? Would that make them a Super Bowl contender? Would Baker Mayfield make them a Super Bowl contender? Is there someone out there who would?
I mean, listen, of all the options out there, Kirk Cousins is the best option because he's the best quarterback, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to commit the type of money that Kirk Cousins is going to demand in free agency. And plus, it just doesn't seem like something that the Steelers would do.
It's not
right. That's just not what they would do as an organization.
I know.
No, it's not. And look, they have something invested in Kenny Pickett, a first-round pick. They feel like, maybe we do have to give him a chance with a different offensive coordinator to see if he could be the player we thought we were drafting in the first round. And, yeah, I don't – you're right. It's absolutely not their way. But also, it's been a long time, right? They had Roethlisberger for forever. They won and won and won. Like, this is a different kind of situation they find themselves in. If Pickett isn't the guy, then they're in trouble.
Well, they've sort of adapted that, or it has changed. They used to be the franchise that won. Now they're the franchise that doesn't lose. Yeah. And those are two different things.
They're like the seventh seed was like made for them.
That's exactly right. It is a loaded class of free agent running backs this year. The position has been so devalued that they're all available. So let's go through some of the best fits. D Wood, what would be the perfect fit for Derrick Henry?
I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I agree with what Louis Riddick had talked about. The Dallas Cowboys need an attitude at the running back spot. That was something that was sorely missed with the Cowboys, especially when you get down towards the end zone. I think that attitude will be another much-needed dimension to this Cowboys offense.
Yeah, we wanted them to make a move for him before the trade deadline last year. It didn't happen. Graziano, how about Josh Jacobs? What's a fit for him?
Baltimore Ravens. Look, do you know this guy's only 26 years old? He has less wear on his tires than Saquon Barkley. Like, this is a guy I would be looking at, especially if you're going to be able to get him for a discounted rate. Like, if he's not going to make as much as Saquon Barkley, I would take a long look. He led the league in rushing 2 years ago, and then last year, obviously he didn't, but last year, what did the Raiders have at quarterback? I think people were kind of geared up to stop Josh Jacobs. I think he's going to help somebody.
All right, and then the aforementioned Saquon Barkley. Harry, what's the best fit for him?
I'm going to go with the Houston Texans down there with C.J. Stroud. We've seen this young team be phenomenal last year and be able to make the playoffs in their first year with a rookie head coach, rookie play caller, and also a rookie quarterback. But you look at how he will be unlocked in a Bobby Slowick offensive system who came from the San Francisco 49ers. So the same way we see Christian McCaffrey being used in San Fran is the same way we'll see Saquon Barkley be utilized with the Houston Texans. You talk about being matched up with linebackers coming out of the backfield, running H choice where you have a two-way go, running down the sideline on rail routes, being able to, line up in the slot and run shallow routes across the field, 5-yard unders. So I really like Saquon Barkley to the Houston Texans.
Listen, and you just made an outstanding point. Let's put the team aside for a minute, and let's bring it out to the group here, because I've been talking about Saquon like he could be the Christian McCaffrey for some contender all week long, and I don't think that's overstating it. The numbers, I just pulled them up here, the numbers Saquon Barkley has put up in recent years on terrible teams. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about just awful offenses. 2 years ago, when he got Daniel Jones paid $90 million guaranteed dollars, it is because Saquon Barkley ran for 1,300 yards and had 57 receptions and was just a dominating last year on what was maybe the worst offense in the league, in which Tommy DeVito became a folk hero.
Remember that?
He still managed to run for 962 yards and catch 41 passes. I think Saquon Barkley, on a really good team with a really good quarterback for a change, could be that team's McCaffrey.
Love it for Houston. I mean, look, here. So go back a couple years to the Bengals. Bengals were never a free agent team. And then they get Joe Burrow, and they start hitting free agency hard. Because why? We have the rookie quarterback. We have him on the rookie deal. Let's build around him.
Right.
Let's get good as fast as possible because we don't know how long this is going to last. Houston is in the exact same situation, even better. They were
Yes.
a playoff team his first year with C.J. Stroud. So if there's a team out there that can afford to splurge on a running back, and the parallels, if it's McCaffrey, right? When McCaffrey went to San Francisco, he'd been heavily used. He was injury prone early in his career. I mean, all these things can be said about Saquon. It'd be a great story.
And Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator,
Yep.
where did he come from? San Francisco.
Right.
They've run the same type of offense. So imagine how he would be able to utilize Saquon Barkley in that offense down in Houston.
So I understand that people will say, oh, well, look, you can get almost the same production from a player you draft in the 4th round and all that.
Yeah.
There are a few players who are different. Christian McCaffrey is different. You're not going to get that kind of production from a player that you draft in the 4th round. He took that 49er offense from being good and sort of carried by their defense to being unstoppable. And I think Saquon Barkley could do that for someone. If it's Houston, so be it. I think there are a lot of teams, a lot of contenders that should consider him. And then the other one is Derrick Henry. We keep talking about him to Dallas. Cindy, can we show the picture of him with Graziano? I just for those who want to get a sense of just how big.
Most of my Instagram feed is me talking to much larger people. But running back, usually I got a chance to at least not look ridiculous. But this guy is.
That's a great tie you have on, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I do like the tie.
Yeah.
That is. It should also be pointed out once again. That is a running back.
Right.
That Dan is talking to. He looks like a defensive end.
Yeah.
And again, you played with him, Harry. Can you describe what it is like having Derrick Henry on an offense?
I'll tell you this, man. Early on in his career, when I was in Tennessee, we had DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. And I remember in 2017, we played the Kansas City Chiefs at Kansas City. That was Alex Smith's last year. And we basically leaned on Derrick Henry, and he took us to the promised land. We went down big in that game. But you talk about someone who's all business. He's a leader. He's a guy that, you can count on. He's durable. You look at 4 of the last 5 years of his career, he's been either first or second in rushing in the National Football League. In the 1 year that he wasn't, he was 9th, only playing 8 games in that season in 2021 and still rushing for over 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. So I love Derrick Henry on a lot of teams. I could see him with the Los Angeles Chargers, Dallas Cowboys, Baltimore Ravens. I could see him in Houston as well, because we got to remember he also played for head coach Matt LaFleur when he was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee. He played for Arthur Smith when he was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee. So this Shanahan offense, he is accustomed to because he's been in that system as well. So Derrick Henry fits a lot of places in the National Football League. And I'll throw another one out there. You look at a team like Cincinnati. If they want to move on from a Joe Mixon, can you imagine a Derrick Henry in an offense with Joe Burrow? And now a defense has to stack the box and you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside?
What does the market look like for these guys? For the top level run, whoever, if it's Josh Jacobs, if it's Saquon, what is going to become of them?
I mean, look, they'll sign, right? But are they going to get the deals they were imagining when they were, free agent eligible and franchised last year? Probably not. I think coming out of Indy, I got indications that maybe Saquon would do the best of the group, that maybe he might have a chance to be the guy that makes something in the 10, 11, $12 million a year range, if any of them were going to do that. Derrick Henry, different, like he's 30 years old, right? But to Harry's point, special. If you can finish 9th in rushing in 8 games, I mean,
pretty doggone good.